Thank you for the opportunity to me to present my research. I'm the last presenter today. The title of my research is I'm sorry. Trouble. My title research is about the effect of the burying time in peatland swamp on physical and mechanical properties of wood gelam. The background of my research is about gelam is found abundantly in central Kalimantan. Gelam is botanic classification. You can see division Magnolopita, genus Magnolopsida, family Myrtaceae, genus Melaleuca, and species Melaleuca kayu putih power. There's 3 subspecies in this species. Gelam is tolerant to extreme soil conditions such as acid, like salinity, and demand water. Optimal growth of depth of peatland more than 40 cm. Strength class 2 increment until 6 years old reach 1 to 1.5 cm per year. Durability class of gelam is classified into 3 durability class and expect to withstand up to 3 years in wet utilization. Just 3 years. Just 3. Next. Gelam is used as house pole contraction in local community. It has been found that gelam wood used for house pole could be still strong in not more than 30 years bearing time. What's happened? Wood degradation occurs while wood in surface, which under influence of environment, biotic and non-biotic factor, affect the degradation of wood. Longer burial time make more possible degradation of wood. And the question is, what properties of wood that change when it buried? The aims of the study is to discover the effect of burial time in peatland on the gelam wood quality, physical and mechanical properties, and the advance to give scientific information and explanation of gelam utilization as house pole. Yes. Material and method. The research was conducted by sampling gelam wood as house pole, which were buried in peatland for several years, namely 10, 19, 31, and 38 years. The diameter pole ranged for 6 to 11 cm. They were obtained from West Kalimantan, Kapuas, Central Kalimantan. This is the sampling of my research. With physical properties parameter test where moisture content maximum and air dry, specific gravity maximum air dry and open dry. And the mechanical properties, static bending and hardness, all refer to British standard. Yeah, you can see the equation in table 1, equation to calculate limit, calculate parameter. This is a dimension of the specimen and calculate parameter that are used in this result. Next, result in this question. With physical properties. From this table, you can see that the maximum moisture content is behave negatively. It means the longer period time, the lower the maximum moisture content. You can see that it point in 10 years period time, moisture content is 154.26 to in the 30 years period time is 79.26. But we know that the air moisture content there's not significant affected by the period time. The next we can see the table that the longer period time, the lower the moisture content. Next. From table 3, you can see the variation of average value specific gravity on bearing time. You can see that maximum specific gravity, air dry specific gravity, and oven dry specific gravity have positively, meaning the longer period times, the higher specific gravity. Next, this is the pattern of specific gravity on period time. You can see that the longer period time, the higher specific gravity. Summarize, analyze of variance of period time on the test parameter. You can see that the maximum specific gravity, air dry and oven dry specific gravity, and maximum moisture content significant difference at 1%, but air dry maximum moisture content is not significant effect by period time. It's not significant. Next. Now we can see the wood mechanical properties. From table 5, we can see that MOR and stress at proportional limit behave positively, meaning the longer period time, the higher MOR and stress at proportional limit. MOR and stress at PL increase with the length period time, and it's parallel to the specific gravity. Parallel. This is the pattern of mechanical property. As I say, that the MOR and stress at PL positively behave positively, meaning the longer varying times, the higher MOR and stress at PL. Next. But the hardness is not significantly affected by the period time. And now we can see the pattern of MOE on period time in pitland. You can see the MOE is not affected by period time, this is not parallel with specific gravity, but similarly to the moisture content, maximum moisture content. Next, from the summarized analysis of variance of bearing time on the test perimeter, we can see that the MOR stress on proportional limit, hardness, and MOE, modulus of elasticity, is not significant at 1%. It's not significant effect by the barrier time. Next.
2 minutes more, please.
Vitrification is process in which organic substance such as wood and cell are replaced by silica, from 2007. In geology, vitrification or silification is the process by which organic material is converted into stone by impregnation with silica. It is a rare form of mineralization. To explain the change of properties of wood, the measure of silica content is done. Next. This is the table 7, represent the silica content. And silica content we have positively, meaning the longer body time, the higher silica content, and it is parallel to the specific gravity. Next. This is the diagram. Next. A conclusion: specific gravity increases with the length of pitch form bearing time. The longer bearing time, up to 30 years, the higher the wood specific gravity, 0.51 to 0.75. However, with moisture content behave negatively, meaning the longer burying time, the lower the MC. The effect of burying time on MOR and stress at proportional limit are parallel with specific gravity, while the effect on MOE almost similar to that of moisture content. And I add this, and the last calculation is wood silica content increased with the length of the pit burying time, is the additional result. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Wahyu Supriyati. And I invite to come forward to the presenter. So we open the discussion. Okay, first is from Pak Nugroho.
Ya,
Please.
terus membagi versi membagi. Oh, Pak Agus. Pak Agus dulu atau saya dulu?
Pak. Pak.
So Mbak Ibu siapa namanya?
Indraswari.
Bu Indraswari. For slide number 4 before the last slide. Yang ada density tadi.
Ini masih berapa ini harganya?
Terus one more. Okay. Maybe this one. Please show us. I think I'm sorry. I came to this room quite late. This is solid wood.
It's a solid wood.
So it is quite. What kind of acacia?
I believe it's acacia mamah.
So I think. I'm sorry if my opinion is not good. It's better to check again.
Okay.
Quite important. Sorry. Acacia mamah doesn't have density as this kind of too high. I
It's
think.
too high. Okay.
Too high for acacia mamah.
I did feel surprised myself with this, but we didn't have time to measure it again yet. But
Sorry, you measure yourself.
yes,
The
with the
density.
students. With the
The
students.
density.
Yes.
Okay. Then.
But then one problem we had is that we could not get the moisture content low enough. I believe that from the standard it says that we have to have about 12% of moisture content,
Yes.
but then we only got about 16%.
16.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then that makes, I think that makes the density higher and also the E lower.
Yeah, but even it is 16%, it is. I'm sorry, my opinion. I just want to give my experience.
Yes.
If you increase the moisture content, then the density will be lower. I don't know what is the weight of the density. You use basic density or
The basic density.
basic density.
Yeah.
So it means oven dry.
Yeah.
Weight divided by volume at air dry, 12%. If it is 60%, even it will be lower.
Okay.
Lower. Yeah. And to best of my knowledge, it's about 500.
500, okay. That's also one reason why I came to this community,
Okay.
because I'm a newcomer in
Oh, I
this
see.
field,
Okay.
and so we still don't know whether maybe in the methodology we did something not quite to the standard. And so yes, thank you that you
But
mentioned
your
that.
study very interesting, good. Only I surprised that in the position of Mangyong Acacia. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
This is a good research, good study.
Okay, thank you.
Only the density.
Okay, next maybe this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Bu Wahyu. Bu Wahyu. What different? Bu Wahyu.
Yeah.
What different gelam and Melaleuca lecodendron has physically, because at East Nusa Tenggara kayu putih is Eucalyptus alba.
Thank you for the question. The gelam is a Melaleuca kayu putih oval. Have a characteristic of the leaf. They have the thickness more than the Melaleuca leucadendron. I think that is and the oil produced from Melaleuca leucadendron may be more than the Melaleuca kayu putih oval. And gelam is the one subspecies from the Melaleuca kayu putih that we know. As we know that Melaleuca kayu putih is produce the oil, but the gelam doesn't produce much more oil. They have a thickness more than Melaleuca leucadendron. Thickness leaf more than leucadendron. That's I know, and not have produce oil
Yes, thank you.
from the stem, from the tree. Thank you.
Okay, next, please.
Thank you for this investment. One part of the term you use for this is one part, and the second, what the relationship between density and suitability for violin or guitar?
Thank you. Yes, I know the question will come up because from what I read, the position of the trunk also influenced the mechanical properties. What we did here was that we did not make many differentiation between the position, because when we make a violin or a guitar, what we do is we have log, and then we make the slab. So the whole plate will consist of all plates, from the bark to the middle. So what we did is we took samples from all positions, and then we made the mean. Actually, the data here should also consist of the standard deviation, but I did not put it here. So that's why we did not differentiate it, because in the end, for one plate of the top plate of the violin, then all parts will be used. But to have a balanced sound, balanced vibration, so the wood is usually mirrored between the left side and the right side of the plate. And then about density, well, the density itself is not on itself related to the sound, but the ratio of the sound wave speed to the density, that is the one that influences the sound radiation coefficient. So, but one thing again is that we don't want to have a very heavy wood, so a large density is not recommended, because, for example, a violin, it will be placed on the shoulder. So if the wood is too dense, a high density, then it will be too heavy. One thing I forgot to mention was that after we did the measurements, or after we made the pine mahogany violin, and then we compared the weight with the spruce maple, which was from Europe, the pine mahogany was somewhat heavier. Not very heavier, but somewhat heavier. So when we tested it to the musicians, he said, this is a bit heavy. So that's also a consideration why we want to have a lower density wood. So I think that's the answer.
Okay, is there another question or suggestion? I think study on acoustic properties is very rare among the Indonesian researcher. So I think this is a very nice effort. Okay. Can I ask you? Can I ask you? Yeah. I read some papers that another parameter of acoustic properties is dynamic Young modulus. So we can we not measure the Young modulus in a static way. We have to vibrate. Okay. And one of my question is, can you explain the relation between, for example, density and acoustic properties? Means that the higher density have good acoustic properties or not? Or also, is there any relation with Young modulus? So we can easily say that if we have high density, so acoustic properties will be better, for example.
Okay. Basically, it's true that we have two different alternatives of measuring. One with the static bending, so we have a static elasticity modulus, and we can also measure it by vibration. So we vibrate one end, and then we measure the frequency, the natural frequency, and then we can use that to calculate the dynamic elasticity modulus. We have done actually two separate experiments, but with a different wood actually, so we can't really compare it. But based on what I've read, is that the dynamic modulus is about 10% higher than the static modulus. So if we use a different methodologies, then it's not really directly comparable. But we can still differentiate which wood has a better characteristic, either using the static modulus or the dynamic modulus. Because even if we use the dynamic modulus, we can still make a ratio between the modulus and the density. And what is important is not elasticity separately and density separately, but the ratio between the two. Because what we want to have is a wood with a high elasticity but a low density, and then we can have a high sound radiation coefficient. Because the sound radiation coefficient will influence how efficient or how loud the sound will be produced when we vibrate a string and the string vibrate the plate. So I guess that more or less is the relationship.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation. If there's no another suggestion or question, we shall close the last session. I invite your applause for two presentations. Thank you very much for your attention, and we close the last session. Thank you very much.